Elgato has been making game capture devices ever since 2012, so in 8 years the company has come a long way from the original Game Capture HD. Now though, there are several Elgatos to choose from, and no matter if you want to capture gameplay, upgrade your webcam, or just find a great capture card, this is the best Elgato you can buy for the money, the Cam Link 4K. Before I get into this video, I want to say to those of you who are looking for an Elgato to record gameplay, you should stick around because even though this is not a typical game capture device, I've been recording gameplay with it and I think the results will impress you. Alright, so you're probably looking for an Elgato to do one of two things. Either be used as a game capture device, or use it to improve your webcam quality by attaching a DSLR or mirrorless camera to it. In this case then, it's really nice to have the 1080p 60 functionality for smooth gaming videos, but 4K 30 functionality to get all the detail possible out of even the highest end video cameras. Wait, hey. Where you going now?
Over there somewhere.
You didn't kill him?
He's fucking pissed.
Yeah, we pissed him off. I thought it was a fuzzy, I was about to grab it, and I went, yo! Hey. The reason I don't think 4K 60 is that big of a deal yet is because even though YouTube does support this resolution and frame rate, a lot of people are not watching gaming content in 4K. Heck, not a lot of people are even gaming in 4K, so 1080p 60 is still really good for most people. So that would instantly draw you to the HD60S Plus, but when I was looking for a capture card, A, they were out of stock, and B, price gouged an insane amount on Amazon. The 4K 60S Plus is too expensive for a lot of people, and the Pro line of capture cards is meant to be installed in a desktop computer, which I do not use. Therefore, I fell onto the Cam Link 4K, which first got my attention for the price. For only $130 US, this capture card can record up to 4K 30 FPS and 1080p 60 FPS, which was exactly what we were looking for. But looking at it, you can probably see why it's $70 less than the HD60S Plus. There is physically less product they have to manufacture and ship, and most importantly, there is no HDMI pass-through, so game capture on this thing is kinda impossible. But that's where an HDMI splitter comes into play. All an HDMI splitter does is take an input and mirror it between two outputs. I'll talk more about this later, but just understand that this little box for just 12 bucks can enable you to connect both your TV and Cam Link to your game console to record high quality gameplay. The Cam Link plus the splitter only runs us about $140 US, which is still a reasonably wide margin between the HD60S Plus. The Cam Link box comes with the Cam Link itself, obviously, a USB 3.0 extension cable, regulatory information, and a lovely Elgato sticker. Unlike the game capture devices, there is no HDMI cable included in the box, but I don't think that is unreasonable at all in 2020. The Cam Link itself is what I would refer to as a chonker flash drive, but compared to all other Elgato capture devices is by far the most portable one and can easily fit in a pocket or cable bag for traveling. If you're using the Cam Link to capture the output of your DSLR or mirrorless camera to step up your webcam game, this setup could not be more simple. You don't even need to install any Elgato software to use it with programs like OBS, Streamlabs OBS, Discord, Zoom, Skype, etc. You can even use the built-in camera apps with Windows and Mac OS to record a short video if you need to. It appears in OBS as a video capture device, and as you can see, the difference between that and a Logitech C920 is night and day. There are a lot of benefits of using something like a DSLR for your webcam, especially if you're a streamer. You can play with lighting and different lenses to get the specific look you want to fit the vibe of your stream. Also, since it produces a sharper image, chroma keying out a green screen is better using this setup versus a traditional webcam, and can produce eye-pleasing bokeh for streamers who talk to the camera a lot. One thing I'd like to mention is if you want to record any 4K footage from the Cam Link, then you'll have to do it on Windows with the 4K capture utility, which I'll talk more about later. This was pretty disappointing to me as a Mac user, but using Boot Camp or Parallels is a solution that I use that produces good results. But as I said earlier, its resolution recording specifications make it a good choice for people who want the 4K capability of a Cam Link, but the 1080p 60 FPS capability of a game capture. To be able to record gameplay and play on a display at the same time, we will need an HDMI splitter. You can get ones as cheap as $12 which can handle mirroring 1080p 60fps signals, but I sprung for the higher end model which can mirror 4K 60fps, which also works a treat. I will admit, the setup using the splitter and the Cam Link is not as clean as just using a game capture device, but I will gladly give that up to save about $60. It's really straightforward to set up the Elgato and the splitter though. Once you have the splitter, Elgato, and 3 HDMI cables, your game console or PC acts as the input to the splitter, and one output goes to your display and the other goes to the Cam Link. Beyond that, there is minimal setup that is required to start recording gameplay right away. You can use the Elgato products with a wide range of programs to record and stream. If you want to do any sort of streaming, I would seriously consider OBS or Streamlabs OBS, which is considered to be the norm for expert and beginner streamers alike. However, if you mainly want to record gameplay, I personally like recording with the Elgato provided pieces of software, as I think it's easier to customize various settings, and they record at the correct bitrate depending on your settings and what Elgato you are using. With any Elgato that supports 4K, Elgato made the 4K capture utility that runs on Windows only, which is really all you should ever need to start recording some gameplay. The 4K capture utility is the only piece of software that supports 4K recording, but also is very basic in what it provides versus something like Elgato's own game capture software. When you open the menu, the first thing you see is the General tab, which isn't a place you'll be in very often. There's a drop-down box to change your capture resolution, which doesn't do anything clicked, so that's interesting. The Device tab is just a place where you can select what Elgato to use if you're the type of person to have multiple capture devices connected to your computer. The Picture tab is a little more exciting in the fact that it lets you tweak some values like brightness, contrast, saturation, and hue if you want to add a picture profile of sorts to your gameplay footage. Really, the only thing I mess with here is brightness to give some dark gameplay an overall boost. The Recording tab is really where the meat and potatoes are, because this is where you can change what resolution you're recording in, how high your bitrate be, and more. A note for my Mac users who are using Boot Camp or Parallels to run the 4K capture utility. When I used the GPU video encoder, my footage came out glitchy and stuttery. I can pretty much guarantee this is due to the fact that the drivers that come with Boot Camp for the AMD graphics cards are not great. And I further messed with my system to install a special bootcampdrivers.com driver to improve gaming performance. Speaking of which, a video on that is coming soon. Anyways, I just had to switch this setting to the software encoder, which uses the CPU to encode instead, and has been flawless ever since. Finally, the Mic tab allows you to choose which input device you want to use to commentate over your gameplay. And that's about it for the 4K capture utility. I like it a lot. It really gets out of your way so you can start recording gameplay instantly and effortlessly. The game capture software, on the other hand, is a little more feature rich, but it comes at the cost of simplicity. The game capture HD software is still easy to use, but not as intuitive as the 4K capture utility, and that begins with the UI. It is pretty busy, and the fact that there is a settings button for both the program and the Elgato itself hasn't always made sense to me. The game capture program has the ability to stream, but as I said earlier, I would really suggest you use OBS instead. Now sadly, it seems the macOS version has not been kept as up to date as the Windows version, so that combined with the fact that the 4K capture utility is Windows only, I would definitely say Elgato gives more attention to the Windows users and leaves the Mac users behind. I do have to give Elgato credit. They put all their attention towards the Windows apps, and they both perform absolutely brilliantly. But now that they have been acquired by Corsair, I think that they could give the macOS version a little bit more attention, especially in a UI update. As a TLDR, if you're on Windows, I would just suggest you use the 4K capture utility to record your gameplay. And if you want to stream or add a webcam to your gameplay, use something like OBS. If you're on macOS, you really have no choice but to use OBS or the Game Capture HD software unless you're willing to boot camp or virtualize Windows to run the 4K capture utility. Before the video ends, I do want to talk about what the gameplay footage looks like. You guys know that a DSLR or mirrorless camera hooked up to the Cam Link 4K is going to look a lot better than a webcam, but how does the gameplay footage look like? Fortunately, EposVox has done an Elgato Cam Link test with Modern Warfare Remastered. He captured it with the Windows 10 camera app, and it looks great. It's not the Cam Link 4K, but the 1080p 60 functionality of the normal Cam Link matches that of the 1080p 60 functionality of the Cam Link 4K. So I'm going to put a link to that down in the description, and it's also on your screen now, but if you want to watch the whole thing to gauge how good quality it is, it's going to be down in the description. I think it looks fantastic, and you can use it for your gameplay videos any day of the week. So that was the review of the Elgato Cam Link 4K. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, make sure to ask them down below, and while you're down there, please give the video a like. If you like this video, make sure to check out the channel for all sorts of tech content. And that's all for this week. We will see you guys next week with another video.